The first thing is the pain. It is not a sharp thing, not a clean cut. It is a deep, throbbing, all-consuming ache that seems to radiate from the very core of my being, a low-frequency hum of agony that has taken up residence in my body. I am not awake so much as I am surfacing, dragged up from the black, silent depths of anesthesia into this bright, painful world. My eyelids are heavy, weighted with sand. I fight to open them, but the light is a brutal assault. Harsh, fluorescent bars glare down from a white ceiling. The air smells of antiseptic and something faintly metallic, a scent that makes my stomach roll. I try to move my hand to bring it to my face, but a dull protest from my abdomen stops me cold. A memory, vague and terrifying, flits at the edge of my consciousness. A doctor's calm voice, a mask over my face. The cold countdown into nothing. Surgery. I have had surgery. A wave of disorientation washes over me. I do not know what time it is, what day it is. I feel untethered, a balloon cut loose from its string. Panic begins to flutter in my chest, a frantic bird beating against my ribs. My breathing shallows, and the monitor beside me emits a soft, insistent beep that seems to mock my fear. Then a pressure on my hand, a warmth. It is solid and real, an anchor in this sea of confusion. My fingers are being held, enveloped in a gentle grasp. I focus all my will there, on that single point of contact. I turn my head, a slow and difficult motion, on the stiff hospital pillow. It is Marcus, my son. His face swims into view, pale and etched with worry, but when his eyes meet mine, they light up with a relief so profound it almost breaks me. "Mom," he says, and his voice is the most familiar sound in this alien place. It is a low, soothing tone, the same one he used as a boy when he would climb into my bed after a nightmare. "You are awake. It is okay. You are okay." He squeezes my hand, and I try to squeeze back, but my strength is gone. I can only manage a weak pressure. It is enough. Tears well in my eyes, hot and blurring. I do not have the energy to stop them. They track a slow, cool path down my temples and into my hairline. "Marcus," I whisper. My voice is a dry rasp, a stranger's voice. "I am right here, Mom." He leans closer, his free hand brushing a stray piece of hair from my forehead. His touch is infinitely careful. "The surgery went well. The doctor said everything went perfectly. You just need to rest now." He continues to speak in that calm, steady rhythm, a lifeline I cling to. He tells me about the room, about the view from the window, which is just a sliver of gray sky between buildings. He tells me it is afternoon. He does not ask me how I feel. He can see it on my face. He simply is there. His presence is a balm, the only thing that dulls the sharp edges of the pain and the fear. It is only then that I become aware of the other presence in the room. Chloe is standing near the foot of the bed, her posture stiff. She is holding her phone, her thumbs scrolling absently over the screen. She is impeccably dressed, as always, in a sharp, tailored coat that seems out of place against the sterile, limp hospital curtains. Her concern feels like a garment she has put on for the occasion. It does not reach her eyes. When she notices I am looking at her, she offers a thin, practiced smile. "Joyce, thank goodness you are awake. You had us worried." The words are correct, but they land with a hollow ring. There is no warmth in them, no real emotion. They are lines from a script she feels obligated to recite. "Thank you, Chloe," I manage, my voice still a whisper. She takes a step closer, but it is not a step of comfort. It is a step of inspection. Her eyes scan the IV drip, the monitors me. She is assessing the situation, calculating. "The nurses said you will be on clear fluids for 24 hours. I hope the food is tolerable." She says it with a slight grimace, as if the idea of hospital broth is a personal affront. Marcus shoots her a look, a silent plea for her to stop. "She just woke up, Chloe. Let us not worry about that yet." Chloe's smile tightens. "I am simply being practical, Marcus. We must know what to expect." Her gaze flicks back to her phone as it vibrates softly in her hand. She taps out a quick response, her nails making a faint click against the screen. The sound is impatient. Each click is a tiny punctuation mark in the quiet anxiety of the room. She is somewhere else, in a world of meetings and messages that is far more important than this dim hospital room. The throbbing in my abdomen intensifies, a deep, rhythmic pulse that seems to synchronize with the beeping of the heart monitor. I close my eyes for a moment, trying to breathe through it. Marcus's hand is still there, a constant. I focus on that. When I open my eyes again, Chloe is looking at the clock on the wall. It is 1:48 p.m. A strange tension settles over her. She becomes more agitated, her movements sharper. She paces to the door, looks out into the hallway, then back at the clock. "It is getting late," she announces, her voice taking on a new, officious tone. Marcus frowns. "What do you mean? Visiting hours do not end until 8. "Not in this wing," Chloe says smoothly, without missing a beat. She gestures vaguely toward the nursing station. "I was speaking with the head nurse earlier. She said that for post-operative intensive care, visiting hours are strictly enforced. They end at 2 o'clock. She was very firm about it. They need the time without family present to do their assessments." I feel a cold dread begin to uncoil in my stomach, cutting through the haze of pain medication. It is a lie. I know it is a lie. I can see it in the way she will not meet my eyes, in the practiced ease of the fabrication. She has created this fiction, this strict nurse, to serve her purpose. "That cannot be right," Marcus says, his brow furrowed. "No one said anything to me. I can go ask." "Do not be difficult, Marcus," Chloe snaps, her patience evaporating. "I am telling you what the nurse told me. Do you want to cause a scene? Do you want to get us thrown out? They need to focus on Joyce. We are just in the way." She moves around the bed now, placing a hand on his arm. It is not a gentle touch, it is a claim. "You need to come home with me. You look exhausted. You cannot do anything for her right now. She needs to sleep." The conflict on Marcus's face is a physical pain to witness. He looks from Chloe's determined expression to my helpless one. He is trapped between two opposing forces, his loyalty stretched to its breaking point. He is a good boy, a kind man. He does not want to make a fuss. He wants to do the right thing. "Mom," he says, his voice thick with anguish, "I do not want to leave you." I want to speak. I want to scream. I want to tell him to stay, that her words are poison, that she is ripping my anchor away. But the words will not come. My throat is too dry, my body too weak. All I can do is look at him, my eyes pleading, hoping he can read the desperation in my gaze. "Do not go. Please, do not leave me here alone." He leans down, his face close to mine. "I will be back first thing in the morning. I promise, I will be right here when you wake up." He kisses my forehead, and his lips are warm. For a moment, I believe him. Then Chloe is pulling him away, her grip firm on his elbow. "Come on, Marcus, let us not make this harder than it is." He allows himself to be guided, his steps reluctant. He looks back at me from the doorway, his face a mask of misery and guilt. I try to lift my hand, to reach for him, but it is too heavy. It falls back onto the stiff white sheets. And then they are gone. The door swings shut with a soft, final click. The silence they leave behind is immense. It is not a peaceful silence. It is a heavy, suffocating blanket. The beeping of the monitor is louder now, a solitary heartbeat in the empty room. The pain, which had receded to a dull roar with Marcus there, rushes back in full force, a tidal wave of agony that steals my breath. I am alone. Truly, utterly alone. The tears come then, not the slow, relieved tears from before, but silent, hopeless ones. They stream down my face, hot and endless. I am a ship cast adrift. The room, which felt small with the minute, now feels vast and terrifying. Every shadow in the corner seems to lengthen. Every distant sound from the hallway is a threat. I stare at the closed door, at the strip of light beneath it, waiting for it to open again, for Marcus to change his mind and come back. But the strip of light remains unbroken. The only thing that comes is the chilling certainty, settling deep into my bones, that this is only the beginning. The surgery has carved a wound in my body, but Chloe, with her lies and her impatience, has just carved a much deeper one in my soul. And I am powerless to stop it from bleeding. The silence in the hospital room had become a physical presence, a heavy blanket smothering all sound. I stared at the patterns the streetlights cast on the ceiling, tracing them over and over, trying to anchor my mind to something, anything, other than the cold dread solidifying in my chest. Chloe's words echoed, a perfectly polished lie delivered with such chilling finality. Visiting hours are over. The click of the door latch had sounded like a gunshot in the quiet hallway. She had taken my son, and then she had taken the evening, leaving me alone with the sterile smell of antiseptic and the gnawing fear that this was not an isolated incident, but a pattern. A design. The soft, tentative knock on the door was so unexpected I jumped, my heart hammering against my ribs. It was too late for a nurse's rounds. The door creaked open before I could speak, and a familiar, worried face peered in. "Joyce, oh my dear, I saw the light on. I hope I am not disturbing." It was Auntie Pam. Her presence, so solid and real, was like a life raft thrown into a stormy sea. She was not a large woman, but she carried an air of unshakable authority, her sharp eyes missing nothing behind her stylish glasses. She bustled in, her arms laden with a Tupperware container that I knew contained her famous chicken soup, the ultimate cure-all in her playbook. "Pam," I whispered, my voice cracking, "what are you doing here? It is so late." She stopped short, her cheerful expression dissolving into immediate concern. She placed the soup on the bedside table and came to me, her hands, cool and capable, taking mine. "Late? Joyce, it is only 7:30. I came straight from my committee meeting. I told Marcus I would stop by." Her gaze swept the empty room, noting the single visitor's chair, the absence of my son's coat or bag. "Where is he? I thought he would be here." And that was it. The dam broke. The tears I had been holding back, the fear I had tried to rationalize, erupted in a silent, shuddering wave. I could not form words. I could only shake my head, clutching her hands as if they were the only thing keeping me from being swept away. Pam's face hardened. She did not pat my hand and offer empty platitudes. She was a woman of action. "Joyce, look at me. What has happened?" I took a ragged breath, forcing the words out between sobs. "Chloe, she was here. She said visiting hours were over. That Marcus had to leave. She said it was hospital policy." Auntie Pam went very still. The kindness in her eyes was replaced by a flinty sharpness. "Hospital policy," she repeated, her voice low and dangerous. "Joyce, I was just at the nurse's station. I chatted with Brenda, the lovely woman with the red hair. She reminded me that visiting hours are until 8 o'clock. It is a policy I am quite familiar with." She paused, letting the implication hang in the air between us. "That girl looked you in the eye and lied to you." Hearing it stated so bluntly, so unequivocally, was both a relief and a fresh horror. I was not going crazy. My instincts had been right. "She wants me gone, Pam," I choked out. "She wants all of us gone. I have felt it for months, a slow pulling away. But tonight it was so blatant. It is like she is trying to erase me. I am so terrified that I have lost him, that I have lost my son forever to a woman who wants to cut him off from everything he has ever known." Pam sat on the edge of the bed, her posture ramrod straight. "We are not going to let that happen." It was not a suggestion, it was a declaration. "You are going to rest, you need your strength, and I am going to do a little digging. Quietly." Over the next hour, as I pretended to sleep, I watched Auntie Pam work. She was a master. She did not interrogate, she conversed. She went back to the nurse's station, not as a suspicious relative, but as a concerned friend. I could not hear the words, but I could see the body language. The sympathetic tilt of Brenda's head, the way another nurse, a younger man, leaned in and nodded. Pam was collecting information like a bee collects pollen, moving gracefully from flower to flower. She returned to my room, her face a carefully neutral mask, but her eyes were blazing. She did not say anything, just poured a cup of water for me and sat back down, her mind clearly racing. Later, her phone buzzed softly. She took the call outside, and I could hear the low murmur of her voice, serious and intent. When she came back in, the mask had slipped. Her expression was grim. "I have spoken to Brenda, and I just got off the phone with your cousin, Sarah," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "Joyce, this is not just about tonight." My breath hitched. "What do you mean?" "Brenda said Chloe is here often, which is to be expected. But she noted that Chloe always arrives just before Marcus would normally leave, and she always has some reason for him to go, an urgent work call he must take at home, a delivery arriving, a problem with the cat. It is always something that requires his immediate attention. Brenda said she thought it was a bit odd, how the timing always coincided, but she never thought much of it until I asked. A cold knot tightened in my stomach. "And Sarah, what did Sarah say?" Pam leaned closer. "Remember Sarah's wedding last autumn? You told me Marcus missed it because he was sick with that terrible flu." I nodded. It had been a devastating blow. Marcus had been an usher. He had promised to give a speech. "Chloe told Sarah that Marcus was too ill to even get out of bed," Pam continued, her words precise and sharp. "But Sarah said she called the house that afternoon to check on him, and Chloe answered. She put Marcus on the phone, and he did sound weak, but he was coherent. He apologized profusely. Then Sarah distinctly heard Chloe in the background, her voice raised, saying, "Marcus, you are burning up. You need to get back to bed right now. This stress is not good for you." She said the phone went dead a second later. I felt the world tilt. I had called him too that day. Chloe had answered and told me he was asleep and she did not want to wake him. I had accepted it. We all had. "There is more," Pam said, her voice dropping even lower. "Sarah mentioned the family group chat, the one we are all in. She said Marcus has not posted in it for almost a year. She thought he had just gotten busy. But then she recalled that a few months ago, she texted him directly a funny picture of her new puppy. He replied hours later with a very short, cute. She thought nothing of it until she saw him a week later at the supermarket. She mentioned the puppy, and he looked completely blank. He had never received the picture. A terrible picture was forming, clearer and more horrifying with each brushstroke. The isolated incidents I had dismissed as bad luck or miscommunication were not isolated at all. They were threads in a tapestry of control, woven carefully and deliberately. "She is filtering his messages," I breathed, the truth of it chilling me to the bone. "She is controlling what he sees, what he hears, who he talks to." Pam nodded slowly. "It would appear so. And the missed birthday dinner in January, the cancelled trip to see your sister in March, it is a pattern, Joyce. A very deliberate pattern of isolation." We sat in silence for a long time, the hum of the hospital the only sound. The room felt colder, the shadows longer. My son was not just drifting away, he was being systematically removed, peeled like a piece of fruit from the family tree. The woman he loved was building a wall around him, brick by brick, and I was on the wrong side of it. Just then, my phone, lying on the bedside table, lit up with a notification. It was a text message from Marcus. My heart leaped with a fragile, desperate hope. I snatched the phone up, my hands trembling so badly I could barely tap the screen. The message was short, too short. It read, "Hi Mom, just checking in. Chloe told me she saw you tonight and you seemed really tired. I hope you are getting some rest. We both think it is best if we limit visits for a little while, just until you are stronger. Do not worry about a thing. Love you." I stared at the words until they blurred. We both think. The pronoun was a weapon. The concern was a cage. I looked up at Auntie Pam, and without a word I handed her the phone. As she read it, her face, usually so composed, fell into lines of profound sorrow and dawning fury. The unraveling truth was now a knot, tightening around my heart, and I did not know if I would ever be able to breathe freely again. The silence in my mother's house had a texture to it, thick and heavy like wool. It was not a peaceful quiet. It was the kind of quiet that pressed in on your eardrums, broken only by the distant, rhythmic click of Pam's knitting needles from the living room and the low hum of the refrigerator. I stood by the kitchen window, staring out at the backyard where the old oak tree stood, its branches skeletal against the twilight sky. Every second that ticked by on the wall clock was an accusation. I was a coward. I had let Chloe's lie fester for hours, a poison seeping into the foundation of this house, into the fragile truce we had built around my mother's illness. The gnawing guilt was a physical thing, a rat chewing at the edges of my conscience. Chloe was upstairs, resting, she had said, the strain in her voice a carefully calculated performance. But the memory of the receptionist's dismissive tone at the hospital would not leave me. It had been too practiced, too quick. Something was wrong. The landline phone on the wall seemed to pulse with a faint light. It was an old, corded thing, beige and boxy, a relic from my childhood. Taking the receiver felt like lifting a great weight. My finger trembled as I dialed the main number for St. Jude, S., the plastic buttons clicking softly under my touch. A different, brighter voice answered. "St. Jude's Hospital, how may I direct your call?" "Yes, hello," I said, my own voice a low whisper. "I am calling to confirm the visiting hours for the intensive care unit, for a patient named Joyce Henderson." "Of course, sir," the voice chirped. "General visiting hours for ICU are from 10 in the morning until 8 in the evening. Immediate family may sometimes be accommodated outside those hours with prior approval from the charge nurse. Is there something else I can help you with?" The world tilted. 10 until 8. The words echoed in the hollow space inside my head. Chloe had told me visiting hours were over at 6. She had looked me right in the eye, her voice filled with a convincing blend of authority and sympathy, and she had lied. She had robbed me of 2 hours with my mother. 2 hours that felt, in that moment, like a lifetime. A cold fury began to burn in my chest, cutting through the guilt. It was a clean, sharp anger. I placed the receiver back in its cradle with a quiet, deliberate finality. The click echoed in the silent kitchen. I did not storm upstairs. I walked, each step measured, my heart a drumbeat of rising rage. I found her not in the guest room, but in my old bedroom, sitting on the edge of my childhood bed, scrolling through her phone. She looked up, and a flicker of surprise crossed her face before she smoothed it into a mask of concern. "Marcus, honey, what is it? You look pale." "The visiting hours for ICU," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "They end at 8 o'clock, not 6. Her face did not fall in shock or apology. Instead, it tightened. Her eyes, usually so wide and pleading, narrowed just a fraction. The mask slipped, and for a single, terrifying second, I saw the calculation behind it. Then it was back. "Oh, that," she said with a dismissive wave of her hand. "That must be a new policy. The woman at the desk yesterday told me 6. There must have been a miscommunication. I was only trying to spare you the exhaustion, Marcus. You have been under so much stress." "Do not lie to me, Chloe." The words came out as a low growl. "I just called the main desk. It is not a new policy. You looked me in the eye and you lied. Why?" The facade crumbled. The concern evaporated, replaced by a cold, hard resentment. She stood up, her posture shifting from vulnerable to confrontational. "Why? You want to know why? Because I am tired of playing second fiddle to this melodrama. I drag myself out to this godforsaken town, for you, and the moment we cross the county line, it is Joyce this and Pam that. You are not their little boy anymore, Marcus. You are a man with a life, a career, a future with me. But you would rather sit in a sterile room, watching an old woman sleep, than be with the person who is actually building a life with you." Her words were like shards of glass, each one cutting deeper because a part of me feared they held a sliver of truth. But it was a distorted truth, a poison pill. "Building a life?" I shot back. "My mother is dying, Chloe. This is not a melodrama. This is real." "It is always something with them?" she snapped, her voice rising to a shrill pitch. "It is always some crisis that requires your immediate attention, that pulls you away from me. Your mother, your sister, this house, this town, it is a black hole and it is sucking you in. And you let it. I will not let it suck me in too." The bedroom door, which had been ajar, swung open. Pam stood there, her face a thundercloud. She had heard everything. "You selfish, manipulative little witch," she said, her voice trembling with a rage I had never heard from her. How dare you come into our home at a time like this and say those things?" The confrontation spilled out of the bedroom and into the hallway, a storm breaking over the house. Joyce, drawn by the raised voices, emerged from her room, leaning heavily on her walker, her face ashen with confusion and pain. "What is going on? Why is everyone shouting?" And then it all poured out. Years of suppressed grievances, frustrations that Pam had bitten back for my sake, came flooding forth in a torrent. She turned to me, her eyes blazing with tears and fury. "You never see it, Marcus. You are so busy being the golden boy who escaped that you never see what she leaves in her wake. You do not see the calls I have to field from Mom when you do not call for a week because Chloe thinks it is unhealthy. You do not see the way she belittles everything about our lives, our town, our family. She has been driving a wedge between you and us since the day you met her, and you have been so blinded by whatever this is that you have let her." Chloe laughed, a harsh, brittle sound. "Oh, here we go, the bitter sister act. You are just jealous that he chose a life outside of this museum of disappointment." "That is enough," my mother's voice, though weak, cut through the noise. She was crying, tears tracking through the fine lines on her cheeks. "All of you stop it. This is my fault. I should never have." "No, Mom," I said, the fight draining out of me, replaced by a devastating clarity. I looked at Chloe, truly looked at her. I saw the petulant set of her jaw, the coldness in her eyes as she regarded my weeping mother and my furious sister. I saw the wedge. It was not a vague concept anymore. It was real, and it was standing right in front of me, its true nature finally, undeniably revealed. Pam was not jealous. She was protective. She had been trying to hold together the pieces of a family that Chloe had been quietly pulling apart. "Pam is right," I said, my voice quiet but firm. "I have been blind." I turned to Chloe. "You need to leave." Her face went slack with shock. "What?" "You heard me. Go pack your bag. I will call you a cab to take you to the airport. This is where I need to be. This is my family." The argument that followed was ugly and final, but my resolve did not waver. I was no longer the boy being pulled between two worlds. I was making a choice. When the cab finally honked its horn outside, the house fell silent again. The silence was different now. It was raw and wounded, but the heavy, oppressive weight was gone. I did not watch the tail lights disappear. I turned to my mother and my sister. "I am sorry," I said, and the words were inadequate, but they were a start. "I am so sorry." An hour later, I walked back into St. Jude's Hospital. The corridors were quieter, the night shift settled in. I pushed open the door to my mother's room. She was awake, propped up on pillows, her eyes red-rimmed but clear. Pam was sitting in the chair beside her, holding her hand. They both looked up as I entered. I did not hesitate. I walked to the empty side of the bed and sat down. I took my mother's other hand. It was cool and fragile in mine. No one spoke for a long time. We just sat there, the three of us, connected by touch, by blood, by a history that was messy and complicated and real. The hard-won truth hung in the air between us, not as a weapon, but as a foundation. My mother squeezed my hand weakly. "You are here," she whispered, and a single tear escaped and traced a path down her temple. "I am here," I said, and for the first time since I had arrived, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. The reconciliation was tearful, but it was strong. It was built not on pretense, but on the rubble of the confrontation. Yet, as I looked at my mother's frail form in the harsh hospital light, a new fear began to whisper in the back of my mind. This peace, this hard-fought unity, was so fragile. It was a tiny flame in a vast darkness, and I knew, with a chilling certainty, that the coming storm would test it in ways I could not yet imagine.